Hey everyone, today we're going to dive deep into the absolutely stunning but incredibly fragile world of coral reefs. We're going to look at what happens when these underwater cities start to lose their color, and we'll do it through a fascinating case study in Vanuatu that shows two very different futures for our oceans. Just look at this. Right off the bat, this single image tells the whole story. On one side, you've got vibrant life, you've got brilliant color, a healthy reef. And on the other, a ghost, a stark white skeleton. This right here is coral bleaching, and it's a story playing out all over the world. So let's get into it. What is this ghost-like transformation we're seeing? Because it's not just about the reef losing its pretty colors, it's a massive warning sign. It's a critical sign of an entire ecosystem in deep, deep distress. So how does this actually happen? Well, think of a coral as a landlord, and living inside it are these tiny, colorful algae. They're called zooxanthellae, and they're basically the tenants. Now, these tenants are great. They pay their rent by making food for the coral through photosynthesis. But when the water gets too hot for too long, the coral landlord gets super stressed out and does something drastic. It kicks its tenants out. And without that algae, the coral loses its main food source and all its color, revealing the white skeleton underneath. Okay, so we know heat is the problem, but how do scientists actually measure this kind of stress? It's not just about one really hot day. It's about the heat building up over time. And there's a specific way they track that. The metric they use is called degree heating meeks, or DHW for short. It's basically a score that calculates how much heat stress has built up in one spot over a 12-week period. The whole sunburn trucker idea is perfect, really. A little sun is fine, right? But too much for too long, and you get a serious burn. It's exactly the same thing for corals and ocean heat. And this is where that score becomes so important. NOAA, the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, has set these two critical alert levels. Once you hit 4-degree heating weeks, you're at alert level 1. That means significant bleaching is probably going to happen. But when you cross 8 DHW, that's alert level 2. And that is the real danger zone. Now we're talking about severe bleaching and, more importantly, widespread coral death. So now, let's take everything we've just learned and apply it to a real-world example. We're heading to the Pacific nation of Vanuatu to look at two very specific reefs and to see how these alert levels could play out for them in the near future. So here we are. Our story focuses on two spots, Toman Island in the north, which has historically been in warmer waters, and Port Resolution way down in the south, which is usually a bit cooler. This natural temperature difference gives us a really interesting window into their futures. All right, let's look at the numbers. This is what scientists project for the year 2050. This chart shows the chance of seeing a level 1 bleaching alert in any given year. Historically, this was rare. But look, by 2050, even in a low-warming world, the cooler Port Resolution site could see these events 35% of the time. The warmer Toman Island, 60% of the time. Now, look what happens under a high-warming scenario. It's 100% for both. Bleaching alerts every single year. But this is where the story gets really, really grim. This isn't just a bleaching alert. This is for the catastrophic alert level 2 events, the ones that cause widespread death. By 2050, under high warming, even the cooler Port Resolution is projected to face these deadly events in 95% of years. So, what about the already warmer Toman Island? 100%. Just let that sink in for a moment. Under a high warming scenario, by 2050, the reefs around Toman Island are projected to face heat stress so severe it could cause widespread death every single year. This changes everything. It means bleaching is no longer a periodic shock the reef might recover from. It becomes a chronic, deadly condition. And as if that isn't devastating enough, rising temperatures aren't the only villain in this story. The heat stress is just one piece of a much bigger puzzle, an interconnected set of pressures that are all pushing these ecosystems right to the edge. You have to understand, these reefs are fighting a war on multiple fronts. While they're getting baked by the heat, they're also dealing with ocean acidification, which literally makes it harder for them to build their skeletons. They're getting hammered by more intense cyclones, smothered by runoff from crazy rainfall, and on top of all that, they're being weakened by local stuff like overfishing and pollution. It's just a relentless assault from all sides. So why does any of this matter? I mean, really, why should we care? This quote from the report just says it all perfectly. Reefs aren't just pretty underwater gardens. They are vital. They provide food for millions of people, they support entire economies through jobs in fishing and tourism, they protect our coastlines from storms, and they house a mind-boggling amount of life. When the reefs die, all of those crucial services, they die too. So all of this brings us to the final and honestly the most important question. The science lays out a pretty stark picture of two possible futures. The question now is, what can we do about it? What choices do we actually have? The good news is there are things we can do to help build resilience. On a local level, we can cut back on pollution, create marine protected areas, and manage fishing better to give reefs a fighting chance. We can also identify and protect cooler spots, these potential refugia or safe zones like port resolution. But, and this is the big one, the report is crystal clear. None of that will be enough in the long run without tackling the root cause of the problem, reducing global greenhouse gas emissions. And so we end here. The science is laid out, the stakes couldn't be clearer. We've seen this tale of two reefs and the two completely different paths they could go down, and they represent countless reefs all across our planet. The data, it's given us the possible plot lines. The choice of which story actually becomes our reality, well, that's up to us.